I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Sometimes, silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. And in the noisy world of entertainment, when voices collide, the silence of one man named Kim Taehyung becomes a story that cannot be ignored. Not because he couldn't defend himself, not because he lost, but because he chose to stand tall, calm, and remain himself, even though the storm tried to tear him down. When the torrent of negative comments began to pour down, the public turned, looking for an official statement from those who should have been his protectors. However, all they found was silence. No clarification, no open support. Taehyung was left to walk alone amidst the rain of piercing slander. But therein lies the difference. He didn't retaliate with sharp words, didn't vent his anger, and didn't beg for sympathy. He chose his own path, a path filled with serenity. A path only taken by those who know that true class isn't measured by how hard someone retaliates, but by how calmly they remain when the world tries to shake them. He didn't respond to every insult directed at him with anger. Instead, he transformed that hurt into art. He wove pain into music, smiles, and an unwavering attitude. Instead of seeking revenge, he taught lessons about forgiveness and growing wiser. While many questioned where his agency had disappeared to, Taehyung kept going. His head hung low not because he was defeated, but because he knew maintaining his dignity was far more valuable than seeking instant attention. Beneath the fading glamour, he embraced himself, letting time do the talking. He didn't try to defeat hate with hate. He countered it with achievement. He appeared in places those who belittled him couldn't reach. He smiled in public, with a calm expression that betrayed no scars. From there, people began to understand. There is class that cannot be bought. While many waited for an emotional reaction, what emerged was calm. When the fire was lit by those demanding clarification, Taehyung came with water, calming burning hearts and soothing burning souls. He wasn't just standing still, he was healing. And strangely, every time he walked alone, his steps always took him further. He wasn't just surviving, he was growing. Until finally, the public realized, perhaps it wasn't HYBE that raised him, but rather he who gave that name light. Taehyung didn't blame anyone. He didn't utter words of regret. He simply sang more sincerely, smiled more warmly, and created more beautifully. He made the pain he experienced seem worth it, because from it a pure love was born. For fans, witnessing all of this was a mixed experience. Anger, disappointment, but still faith. Because even though the institution was silent, their hearts still heard the soft voice of an unwavering man, Taehyung's voice. He wasn't just a victim. He became the author of his own story, a story about facing injustice without losing heart. He rose to the top, and from that height, all attacks no longer reached him. HYBE may have remained silent, but its silence only made Taehyung's voice louder. The world watched, the world took note. When the system doesn't act against injustice, the one who stands alone can become greater than the system itself. And now, Taehyung stands taller, more composed, more respected. He doesn't seek sympathy, but cultivates empathy. He's not an actor in a media drama, but a genuine character in a narrative of honesty. People who once merely watched are now speaking out, creating works, and protecting him. Not because they were asked to, but because they see genuine sincerity. Taehyung never sells his suffering. He simply remains himself, accepting love with the same composure as he accepts insults. When the world treats him harshly, he responds with tenderness. When the system ignores him, he proves that he never depended on it. He's a garden growing in dry soil, a light that stays lit even when the power goes out. And the public is beginning to understand one important thing. In an industry that often exploits drama for profit, there's someone who chooses a silent stage and gentle dialogue. Now, those who once belittled him are at a loss for words. Not because they're afraid, but because there's no room to attack him. He keeps walking, his steps growing longer, and all hatred is left behind. However, Taehyung's story didn't end there. His silence didn't mean he stopped. In fact, from that silence, a new chapter was born, a chapter where every step he took became a silent message. Every public appearance after that storm seemed symbolic. The way he looked at the camera, the way he bowed in greeting, even the way he smiled, all sent signals that could only be read by those who truly paid attention. There was pain behind that smile, but also a strengthening determination. And the public began to realize one thing: Taehyung's silence was an empty silence. It was an elegant form of resistance, not against people, but against the world's desire to make him part of cheap dramas. Although his agency remained silent, the wave of support from fans only grew. Hashtags of support appeared on social media, fan art flooded timelines, and his sincere videos went viral again. People who previously didn't know him began to admire his composure. Every project he undertook after that proved it. It's not just about his talent, but also about how he manages to remain professional, stay bright, and protect himself from negative energy. He proves that an artist's worth isn't determined by how fiercely they respond to attacks, but by how well they maintain a pure soul. There was a moment when he was performing at a music show, and the cameraman accidentally caught his gaze looking at the audience. It was a look filled with warmth, as if saying, "I see you. Thank you for being here." For fans who understood the context, that moment was worth more than 1,000 words. And slowly, the public narrative began to shift. Before, people talked about him because of the rumors and attacks. Now they talked about him because of his strength to remain gentle. Before, people were waiting for him to respond. Now they simply awaited his next work. Even several international media outlets began to highlight his story as an example of how an artist can survive in the harsh entertainment industry without losing their identity. They highlighted how Taehyung chose grace over chaos, choosing to inspire rather than retaliate. Time passed, and the storm that was once so frightening began to subside. But the legacy of that time remains, a legacy of determination, patience, and belief in goodness. Now, every time Taehyung steps onto the stage, the public doesn't just see an idol. They saw someone who had walked alone in the middle of a storm, but returned with brighter light. And that light now belongs to everyone who believes in it.